Here we're looking at a problem from R. I'm not so interested in what the question that the problem is asking as I am in this data set. We're looking at 8 different baseball teams. For each one of the teams we're looking at the games that they won, and we're looking at the batting averages for each of those teams. So I want to get this data moved over into R so that I can study it and have R produce some results for me. So the way to do that is to take your favorite spreadsheet and enter that data into the spreadsheet. I don't like to have spaces in any of my names, so the games one, I either call it games.1 or put it together as I've done here in batting averages and so on. So there's the 8 games and the scores for each of the teams, and there's the batting averages as well. Now I need to save this spreadsheet in a special way. I'm going to choose to save it as, in my spreadsheet, I want to save it in my documents folder and in R. That's where I'm doing all of my work in R. Inside of my documents I built a folder called R, and so there's the name of the file. Then I'm going to call it WebWork Example Problem, and I want to save this as a special type of file. So let me come to the formats in my file. I'm going to save it as a comma separated file, and for me I need to make some other special choices here. So I'll save that. I'm already saved it once, that's why it was asking me that. And if I'm given a choice here, I want to be sure that it's an ASCII type file. So we're going to save that as an ASCII file. Alright, so that's been saved. Let's go and get R and see if R can find that. Remember, when we're in R, you can find out what the working directory is by getwd. There's my working directory. I want to reset my working directory so that it's going to be, on your computer this will be a little bit different, but you need to set it so it's the working directory where you're storing those files. So we're going to set it there. Now notice if I get working directory now, it's changed to this other directory. Do you remember how to list the files in your working directory? It's the command list.files, open and close parentheses. There's the file that we had just barely put in there. That's an important file to us. Okay, now we want to get that data. We're going to bring it in as a data frame. I'm going to call this data frame www.data to remind me that it's that WebWork file that I'm working on. This combination of commands, less than sign and a minus sign, kind of builds an arrow, and that's telling WebWork to take whatever I write over here and store it into that object on that other side. The command we're going to use is read a CVS file, and the CVS file that we're going to read is WebWork Example Problem. Okay, now that will read it in, and it's going to be a mistake. I'm going to show you what the mistake is in just a minute. So, yeah, it's not CVS, it's CSV, right? So that was one mistake. Okay, no such file or directory. There's another mistake because that file had this subscript on it, CSV. Okay, now it's finally read that in. Notice that R will keep giving you kind of hints at what the kinds of mistakes are that you're making. So let's look at this object that we just loaded in. There it is. We've got these games and the batting averages. often it's a good idea to put a comma header equals true on here, because we really have this first line as being a header. Okay, so there's our data. It's come in just fine and it's available for us. Now notice some interesting things here. If I wanted to see this data that's in this first column, I can do that by saying www.data $games1. Okay, there's that string of data that was there, the 89, the 112, the 118, and so on. If I wanted the other piece of data in this data frame, the batting average, then notice that it pulls those out. So those two can be found real easy. Remember, we learned how to plot things before. I want to plot this column compared to that column. So I want to plot www.data games, actually games1, comma, www.data batting average. Okay, and there it produces this this plot. It's got the games1 here and the batting average here. Now what I'd really like to think about is the batting average kind of predicting the games won. So I'd really prefer to have this plot like this. I used the up arrow just to pull up that last command, and now I'm just editing. I really want the batting average to be the x values, www.data $games1. You would think that if the batting average was high, then the number of games won would be high. And there is possibly a relationship here, but in this data set, that's just all over the place. Even though this team had an extremely high batting average, they won very few games. There may be a linear correlation here, but not much. Okay, that's not what we were worried about learning here. The thing that we were learning here was the key commands of being able to create something in a spreadsheet, get it organized right, and read that file into a data frame, and then being able to take information out of that data frame. Okay,